Welcome, friends and subscribers. I thought I would kick it off with a little story time as I do my hair for the day. So I hope you're excited and ready to learn a little bit more about me. So first, I am starting by putting some conditioner in my hair. This is leave-in conditioner. I'm just really gonna work it in. As I continue, I'll just show you the products that I am using. And hopefully you'll be able to see the steps and we should be good to go. So yeah, step one, dry your hair, get it down, put in some leave-in conditioner. All right, and with that, let's begin the story time. So when I was 11 years old, I was living in San Antonio, Texas. We were staying there for a couple of months because my dad was between jobs and his former company had been in San Antonio. So we had quickly moved there, but then in the end, we realized that they weren't actually a real company, and so we were kind of just stuck there, and he didn't actually have a job. Anyway, so we're staying on this 200-acre farm in one of the old barns that they'd kind of converted into a residential place, and it was me and my two sisters and my older brother, and we're just kind of running around as you do, when you're exposed to that much open and empty land as you're going along as a kid. And well, the owner, to take care of this 200-acre property, he had a tractor that he was riding around, and that was kind of how we got checked up on our family. We did have a car parked right by, the renovated barn, but what we didn't realize was how quickly corn grows. And so this was right during corn growing season. So when my dad had originally pulled up and parked, the truck or our car right next to the residential barn, what he didn't realize, in fact, was that the corn would grow too fast and we wouldn't actually be able to leave the residential barn until the corn was harvested. So everywhere we went, we had to go to and fro on this tractor that, the property owner had. So I don't know where y'all are from, but here in the States, we are required to go to school. So what was going on was we were having to hitch a ride on the tractor every morning when the farmer got out to kind of, check in on the corn, and we would be taken across the field to a drop-off spot, and from there we would walk to school. There wasn't a school bus that came that far outside of San Antonio, so it was mostly a big walking commute. But we're kids, we liked it. And so we walked to school every morning, and well, one of the days we were just kind of strolling along, and all of a sudden a white horse comes trotting up to the family of kids that we are walking down this road, and we're like, what is the horse doing here? This is ridiculous. We're not near a ranch, we're just near this one cornfield, and then also half a dozen cow, but we've never seen any horse in this area. It was I would say horse free. And I'm allergic to horses, so trust me, if there's a horse within a 200-mile radius, I know, because I am sneezing. So this horse is coming up, and I'm already getting a little bit itchy. My eyes are a little bit runny. My throat's getting a little bit scratchy, and I'm like, oh no, where'd this horse come from? So before us, the horse comes over, and he kind of bends down on his front two knees, and we're like, does he want us to get on? What's the vibe right now? And also there's four of us, obviously, me, my two sisters, and my brother. We're like, are we all gonna fit on this horse? I don't think so, We're mostly all teens and preteens. So we're looking at this horse that's bent down. We're like, only one? And I'm like, look, I am the one that's closest and the one that it came up to, but I am also the most allergic. Like, does he think that I am just going to overcome that allergy to get this ride from the horse, back to all the way to school? That doesn't seem very healthy. So I gave the horse a little pat to let him know that I appreciated it, but that I couldn't accept his offer. And then one of my sisters, of course, went up closer to the horse and is getting ready to get on him. And as she's starting to kind of climb up onto this horse, he just starts galloping. So she's kind of hanging on. She's got one hand like around his neck and the other like her leg on the side of him, but he's taken off and she's going. And we're just seeing her in the distance, Like the horse keeps running and we're like not really sure where the horse is going or like what he wants to do with my sister at this point. So we're yelling and screaming. My older brother takes off. He's running after this horse. Me and my other sisters are kind of lightly jogging behind because we're not exactly, and cross country like he was. So we're watching him following the horse, following my sister who's on the horse. And we're doing our best to run after him. Well, we get to the stop sign that marks the halfway point between, kind of that farm that we were living on and where our school was. And the horse is stopped at the stop sign. By now, my sister has gotten off. My older brother's carrying to her. She's crying a little bit because, it's a little bit traumatic when you get, pulled along side saddle minus the saddle by a horse. And so he's like, are you okay? And the horse is just kind of waiting patiently at the stop sign. We're like, does he know how to read? I can't tell. But when I asked the question out loud, can he read? Being a little bit sarcastic, the horse looked at me and he nodded. And I was like, no way this horse knows how to read. But he nodded. Maybe he was saying yes. So I opened up my backpack that I was holding on. And I pull out my, my notes from language arts. We're studying, how to kill a mockingbird, and I'm showing him kind of a little passage, and the horse seems very entertained. He's kind of staring at the page intently, and then he kind of whinnies and he goes, "Nay," and he's like, as though he wanted me to show him another page. And I was like, well, I only have the printout. I didn't actually have the book on me, sorry. I didn't actually have the book on me, so I'm not really sure how to show you the next sections of this. Like, I understand why he was so engaged with kind of Boo and Scout and Atticus Finch and all of the characters of To Kill a Mockingbird, but I was like, should I instead have had some horse-related content, I don't think there's a lot of horses in To Kill a Mockingbird, it's primarily about the bird. So I'm trying to figure out what the horse wants at this point. I'm like, I do have some notes from chemistry, but I'm assuming that you don't want my chemistry notes. But I show him them anyways, they're in the same binder. And he's like, kind of looks at him, but kind of looks like me. He goes, like more of a huffing noise that horses make. He goes, okay, so by now my sister's kind of stopped crying. And although we do get a head start for running, we've now spent, 10 minutes or so at this stop sign. So we're exactly on pace and we need to keep on heading if we want to go to school. So I kind of go, well, to the horse, I'm like, well, we're going to school. Like, do you want to go to school with me? Like, obviously you know how to read. Like, I think this could be something that's good for you. They might have some books that are up your alley. At the very least, probably they have To Kill a Mockingbird in the library, unless all the students from my class have kind of checked it out, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, let's keep on going to school. And the horse kind of whinnies again and goes, nee, and is like, yeah, I'll follow along with you guys. So he's following along with us, and just keeping pace. We're kind of trudging along. The sister that took the horse ride is, as far away as possible from the horse. My brother's near her, and my sister and I, we still like the horse. I still haven't touched the horse, obviously, since I am, allergic, but my other sister was kind of petting him. So he follows us. We walk the other, long way to school. We get there, and I'm starting to walk through the door with the horse, and the horse is following me. And then one of the administrator comes running out and goes, "Oh, no, 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 no horses in here." And I was like, "No horses? Like, any livestock's okay but horses?" And she was like, "Yeah, we're okay with cows, but no horses." And I was like, "You don't understand. I think this horse knows how to read." And the administrator's face goes stark white. She goes, "No." And I go, "Yeah, like I showed him my passage from To Kill a Mockingbird and he seemed really engrossed with it." She was like, "That's not possible." Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, you're right. It seems kind of weird, but he also looked at my chemistry notes. Like, I don't know. Worse things could have happened. She's like, "No, no, no, you don't understand." And I was like, what do I not understand? She was like, "We lost our library horse." And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, 2 years ago, we lost our library horse." I was like, what the fuck is a library horse? I don't know. I just moved to San Antonio. I don't know what a library horse is. And she was like, "You see, we used to have this very old horse who worked in our library. And he would kind of just go through all the stacks. He would help clean up loose books by chewing them up and eating them if they were left out in the stacks. So that really encouraged students to put their books away. Also encouraged librarians to be very steadfast in their cleaning skills. Although they were able to get, anytime a book was banned, they were able to ban it real fast by simply feeding it to the library horse rather than wasting their time with having to burn it or whatever not. So more eco-friendly in the end. But she was like, 2 years ago, our library horse passed away. He passed away in like the middle of the stacks. And I was like, okay, well, this horse, this white horse right next to me, he can't be like a day over 3, I don't really know how you tell horse ages, but he has no wrinkles, no sign of fatigue. He ran for quite some time to that stop sign, and he just kept on going, walked all the way with us to school. Like, he seems as fit as a fiddle. No way, And she was like, "He can't be any older than 3. I wonder if he's 2. And I was like, "Do you think that you know this horse, And she was like, I can't tell." The horse has been standing here the entire time, kind of looking at her, but not saying anything, obviously. I'm like, "Do you want to write him a note?" And she was like, "No, I think that will only confuse him. The old library horse, like, we never really talked that much. He had a much closer relationship with the librarians." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I took him with me. As I was on my way to class, I was like, "Oh, shoot, I'll just stop by the library." And so I stopped by the library and have the horse come in with me. And, all of a sudden, he starts trotting around the stacks. He's going in circles. He's doing all those little tricks. He jumps over some of the lower bookshelves in eagerness. And the librarians hear a commotion. They come running out and they go, oh. And I'm like, "Oh, this is it. This is it." The administrator's right next to me going, "This is it. This is it." And they go, "It's the library horse. He's returned." And me and the administrator look at each other, and I'm new, so I'm really not sure what's going on. And she's like, "Wow, I just don't know what to do at this point." And I'm like, "Wait, what are they talking about?" And out from behind the stacks comes the oldest looking woman I've ever seen in my entire life. She's hunched over, she's full of wrinkles, and she smells, and she feels like death coming. And she goes, "Oh, you haven't heard." I'm like, "I'm new here." And the administrator is like, "Well, I did only start 3 years ago." This old woman comes up to the library horse and pets him on the neck and goes, "I've missed you," and puts her head against his head. She turns to me and she said, "You found him?" And I said, "I mean, technically, he found me." She said, "Oh, the library horse has been in San Antonio for the past millennium. There has always been a library horse in this town." I was like, how come, I've never heard of this." She says, "We don't want anyone else to know. They'll take him from us. A horse that can read, everyone would want that. Not to mention, he can reincarnate. I'm like, who are you? What is this place? And she's like, I am the keeper of the stacks and the keeper of the horse. I was like, okay, if you're the keeper of the horse, how come you didn't, keep him? Why didn't he go find you? And she goes, when he's born, he has no memory. He simply knows how to read. Somehow, some way, he will be taken to the library only by the truest of heart. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I the truest of heart? Like, I guess, but at the same time, I was just kind of trying to get to school. Like, I've done bad things before, I kind of laughed a little when my sister was hanging off the side. My older brother was running after her. Like, is that really what the truest of heart is? I'm not really sure. Well, the horse came up to me and kind of butted his head against me, to which I responded with a sneeze because I am, quite allergic to horses. And I was like, oh, Mr. Horse, like, I appreciate that you're happy to be back here. And I was like, hey, so, like, if I come back to the library anytime, does he stay here? And the head librarian, the older woman was like, yes. I was like, so what happens when you die? Who takes care of the library and the horse? And she looked at me and she said, you'll find out. Well, the next week, my dad got a different job, and we moved away from San Antonio. We finally, the farmer had plowed the fields, and all the corn was taken care of and harvested. We were able to leave. So the last time I saw the library horse was after a week. And that library on that Friday at 3 p.m. when we headed out and walked back home. And I wasn't able to return, for several more years because of the fact that things are hectic. It costs a lot to get to San Antonio. And, we moved far enough away that I couldn't walk back to that school. Well, 10 years later, I decided it was time for me to go back. I was in college. I could afford a ticket. I headed back to San Antonio. And I wasn't really sure where the school was because it was been a while ago. And so I had to trek my way back to the farm, and from there I began to walk, all the way to school. And as I'm walking to the school, I get to the stop sign, but there's no road leading to where the school was. Instead, it was just more cornfield. I was confused. I was like, no, I'm certain we went straight through the stop sign to the school with the horse. Like, what does this mean? So I started cutting through the cornfield, hoping that, whoever the farmer is would totally understand. I want to go see the library horse. Well, as I'm going, I crossed one cornfield into a different cornfield into a different cornfield. I'm like, I thought there was other crops than this in San Antonio, but whatever, keep on going. Now I'm lost. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I'm hoping I'm heading straight. I'm following just that corn path. But no matter where I look, I can't seem to find the school. And so I find a nearby scarecrow that's, standing in the cornfield, and I climb up the top of it. And I'm like, I should be able to see a building from up here. And I look up, and in the distance, I do see kind of the faint shape of a roof. So I'm like, okay, I can make it. I start running through the corn. I'm going faster and faster in the direction of that roof. And I finally get to the roof, and it's this decrepit, burnt out shell of a building. It looks no larger than 20 feet by 40 feet. I'm confused. There used to be an elementary school here. This wreck, this burnt down tiny little home looks like it's over 100 years old. I'm like, this can't be the school, can it? Like, maybe I just got lost in the cornfields. I'm not really sure. Then I hear the slight rumble from behind me, and I get a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh no, am I next? First they burnt this whole area down. Now they're going to get me too? Well, no, it was just a farmer coming up on a tractor. He said, hey, I saw you climbing on my scarecrow. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. I was just looking for the old school. He goes, what old school? Where did I go to school for that time that I was in San Antonio? Was there ever a library horse? If there wasn't a library horse, then how come all my siblings and I remember the library horse? How come there was still the stop sign? How come there was still the farm? There was no library horse. How come I still went to that library and pet the horse for that week? What happened? I went, "Sir, the library horse." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh no." I'm like, "I'm not sure. I was here when I was younger. There was a library horse. There was a school. What's going on?" He said, "I'm so sorry, young miss. Can I take you back somewhere?" And I was like, "Yes, can you take me back to the main road?" And I said the address of the farm that we originally stayed at where I parked my car. And we began the long tractor drive back there. It was too loud to really talk. Well, when we got back to my car, I climbed off the tractor and I turned back to him, and he looks at me and he winks, and then he races away on his tractor. And that was the last time I've been to San Antonio. So, on a nice October day in Texas, you might be out and about walking a long way, and you'll come across a horse who'll get down on its two legs, allow you to climb on, and if you refuse, and if you show him your To Kill a Mockingbird passage from your backpack on your back, you might have just found yourself the library horse who's been around for a millennium. Thank you so much for joining me on this hair tutorial. As you can tell, I've got that effortlessly wet, creamy look going on. I know it's the new thing that's in right now. I hope you're able to follow along with my steps, and I hope you enjoyed this story time. And without further ado, goodbye. Please like and subscribe, comment down below for more, and I'll see you next time.